Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I will be discussing about plotting a graph of a second order system using MATLAB. So MATLAB is basically a software which is used for simulating, modeling and plotting different type of engineering and scientific graphs. So guys, if you don't have MATLAB software, you should check out my previous video in which I showed how to download and install MATLAB for free. In today's video I will be covering mass attached to the spring. So guys, this video is just a tutorial for plotting different type of graphs. So that means I won't be discussing about different phenomena happening in damping system. So without further ado, let's start guys. Damping is basically the resistance to the periodicity of a wave. I have written down the code already, which I'm going to show you. This code is for the UnderDamped system. I will be discussing about the different variables and different formulas which have been used in the code. So since we are discussing about the mass attached to a spring oscillatory system, so in this system m represents the mass of the object which has been attached to the spring, k is basically the spring constant, c is basically the damping coefficient. So that means if it has some values, then that the system has some kind of damping in it, but c is equal to 0, that means the damping coefficient is equal to 0. In other words, there would be no damping in the wave. V0 is initial velocity, x0 is the initial displacement, of course in meters. Here I declared the time axis starting from the 0 with an increment of 4 till 100. Wn shows the omega n, which is the natural frequency of the system, where omega n is equal to square root k by m. It's just the basic formula of natural frequency. Here the variable zeta is called the damping ratio. It defines whether the system is underdamped, overdamped or critically damped, depending upon its value. For an underdamped system, the zeta lies between 0 to 1. That means the value of zeta is greater than 0 but less than 1. Omega d defines the damping frequency of the system, which is equal to like omega n square root of 1 minus zeta power 2, which is written in this form. The variable a is called the amplitude constant of integration, which for an underdamped system is equal to this. The angle phi is another constant of integration, which is equal to this. The variable x of t is the general response of the system, which is like amplitude of the system, which will vary with over time. The plot command is used to plot graphs among different variables. Here we are using the time axis and of course the magnitude axis. The grid command is used to enable or disable the grid in your graph. The command ylabel means labeling your y-axis, while the command xlabel means labeling your x-axis. Now I am going to run this script by pressing enter. So here in the workspace we are being shown the values of different variables that have been counted. Now looking at the figure of an underdamped system, we can easily say that it's an underdamped system since it is exponentially decaying and going across all the way to 0. Now let's just move on to another response of the system, that is overdamped system. So now moving on to an overdamped system, you can see most of the variables are same except these three variables and of course some of the values. So here a1 and a2 represents the magnitude of the wave at some initial conditions. For an overdamped system, the zeta, the value of the damping ratio, of course must be greater than 0. Now let's see what happens if you plot it. You can see the different calculated values are here. Now by looking at the graph, it is simply clear that the overdamped system does not oscillate and has a slow rate and moves to its rest position. You can see that here. Now let's continue to our third type of system, that is critically damped system. So in critically damped system, you can see that the script is almost the same here also, but except for these three variables where x of t is again the function, a1 and a2 are somewhat amplitude or magnitude of the wave at different initial positions. So for a critically damped system, the important factor is again the zeta, the damping ratio, which must be equal to 1. So let's plot the graph of the critically damped system and see how it works. again you can see the values, and of course the zeta is equal to 1 for a critically damped system. Now looking at the graph, we can see that for a critically damped system there are no oscillation in the system, and the system has the fastest response to return to the rest state. So I hope so guys, this video helped you a lot, and please show your support by liking and subscribing to our channel.